'Cause you're mine.
Huh?
Well, hello Inside Scoopers, and welcome to the Probiotic Challenge and the exciting results of this test. Now, before we get started, a small caveat: this test is bullshit. Okay, so why do I actually think that this test is bullshit? Well, if you go to a lot of these popular websites or YouTube, you'll see that everybody has done this test.
And one way that you can test to see if yours is working is what's called the milk test. For this test, I'm using Probiotics, but test out.
They call it the milk challenge, where you add the probiotic to the milk, and the theory is if it's a really good, strong probiotic, then it should turn into a yogurt and clump up. And if it does nothing, like some of these here, it's useless and everything inside that probiotic is basically dead and not alive. This is a giant, huge false. Now, let me tell you where the challenge with this milk test actually is. In order for this test to actually work, you need the probiotics to be able to interact with the lactose inside this milk. And normally this may work fine for some of those capsules that you can just break open and put directly into the milk, but this poses a huge problem for like powdered-based probiotics. And that's because a lot of these type of powdered probiotics are either microencapsulated, or they're enteric-coated, or they're acid-coated. What does that actually mean? Well, these companies are putting these coatings on there so they can make their way through your like gastric juices, your stomach, and into the small intestine and into the large intestine. So they're trying to protect them for that really long journey. And so what makes this milk challenge so unreliable is the fact that a lot of these probiotics are not able to ferment in this milk. So the acidity in this milk isn't strong enough to activate that probiotic or break down through that coating, which means you're just going to get a milky substance and your brain will tell you, hey, this must be terrible and all the probiotics in this must be dead, when really it's that protective mechanism that you're actually paying for. Now, the other huge giant elephant in the room is pending the type of species, genus, and strains that you have in these jars. For instance, the lactobacillus bacteria that's in some of these probiotics, well, this can ferment lactose into lactic acid a lot easier than bifidobacteria found in some of these jars. And that's because bifidobacterium works very well in low oxygen environments, not like this table that has all these open lids and all exposed to oxygen. So the moral of the story for a lot of you pet parents out there that are trying to do research, trying to find the best probiotic for your dog or cat, this milk test is actually very useless to you. Today, let's get into some of the things that you should be looking for if you're trying to source a good probiotic.
All right, Rodney's only going to review supplements. We're not going to talk about foods that provide tremendous probiotic activity. So whether you feed fermented goat's milk or cow's milk, coconut kefir, kombucha, fermented veggies, these are all fantastic food sources of probiotics. There are also a ton of really great products on the market that have a little bit of everything. They have prebiotics, probiotics, super green foods, digestive enzymes. These kind of all-in-one products are awesome, but he's also not going to review those because that would add another literally 60 products to their review. One last disclaimer, I am a consultant to many really great human-grade pet supplement companies. Some people think that I get some type of kickback for selling products. I don't. I'm paid a consulting fee for formulation. That being said, I formulated this product for Dr. Mercola, who asked me to do so, but I don't get any kickback for sales of the products. I'm not involved with anything other than just formulation. So disclaimer that there's in no way any compensation for the products that I create. I forgot something. We have to talk about homeostatic soil organisms, HSOs, and SBOs, soil-based organisms. These are really important. They come from the dirt, healthy, amazing dirt that actually have been a part of mammalian physiology and evolution for millions of years. They're amazing, but they don't take the place of probiotics that actually are found in the digestive tracts of mammalians. So we love them, use them with probiotics, but not in place of. Okay, Rodney, you're up. And I just did a whole entire segment on leaky gut and dysbiosis and Inside Scoop this week.
Okay, now for the product review. And how did I select these products? Well, I went to some very popular review sites. In fact, Amazon has a lot of these products as well. Each one of these products has been listed in the top 10. Now, you may notice that when we do this review, there's going to be a couple other products that I added in there that I just wasn't able to get here in Canada, but that were deemed very popular. Now remember, if the probiotic you're currently using today is not on this table or in this list, don't worry, because what I'm going to show you today will reflect on any probiotic that there is supplement in the world and things that you should look for when selecting, of course. As always, we break down the categories for these product reviews, and we are going to be judging this with 4 different types of categories. The first of those categories will be strains. The amount of strains that there are in these type of probiotics, meaning the different types of bacteria that do the really good stuff. Now, the next category will be CFUs, colony forming units. So basically, if I took a scoop of that probiotic, how many awesome types of bacteria are actually in that scoop? That is really important because not all probiotics are created equal. Up next will be cost per serving. So when I scoop out that probiotic, how much does that actually cost me? What does that cost me on a daily basis? And what would that cost me on a monthly basis? And then, of course, the last category will be testing and research. I don't have a cue card. Cue it on the screen. Testing and researching, things that you should be looking for when selecting a probiotic and questions that you may want to ask the manufacturer. All right, here we go with category number 1, which is strains. This is actually technically called species. It's kind of wrong according to science, but more on that later. Okay, so after reviewing these products, what I found was the number of beneficial bacteria ranged anywhere from 20 all the way down to 1. Research shows normally the more diverse your gut biome is, the longer you'll actually live. So we know a lot of strains are good, but what you got to be asking yourself is, what reason do I have for giving this probiotic? Because every strain does something different. Now here's what I want you to pay attention to when looking at your probiotic. The amount of those strains is important. Some strains are very expensive and some strains are very cheap. So it's up to the manufacturer to tell you how much of each strain they're giving you. In my research, what I found that a lot of these companies didn't want to disclose that information. They didn't list it on their websites, and sometimes on the bottles they would say it's proprietary information. This is a huge warning sign for me, and it should be for you as well. Here are some questions that I want to arm you with to ask your manufacturer. The biggest question is this product that you select made in a human grade facility with human grade ingredients? A lot of these companies do that, but there's a lot of companies that don't, and they can be made in very shady areas. And when you're dealing with bacteria, it could get really dangerous. It's really important that you really look through that ingredient list. A lot of these companies will list other things than probiotics. Although you think you're buying a probiotic, they may be putting like synthetic vitamin mixes in these foods. Some of these synthetics can be highly toxic. Other things that you find are flours, for instance, tapioca flour, garbanzo beans. Why on earth is there flour in your probiotic? For instance, let's say that you have a dog with autoimmune thyroiditis. Do you really want kelp to be packed inside of your probiotic? Something that you should really consider when selecting something. Likewise, if you have a dog or cat with an inflamed GI system or something like SIBO, research is pointing to prebiotics being a problem in your probiotics, something that you might not take in consideration. So if these manufacturers, who really mean well, are loading up their products with prebiotics, this might be something that you're really not looking for. What you need to know is, have they done the research to make sure that when you put all these different types of strains in these bottles, some of these companies will list on their websites, hey, we put $8 billion into this product once it came off the conveyor belt, but did anybody actually test couple months later to see what's still alive in these products? Here's something that's really important and something that you should think about. A lot of these companies will recommend giving probiotics before meals, and that's because of the gastric juices and acidity. But there's companies out there that have taken that into effect and want to make your life easier, so they can recommend that you give these probiotics during those meals. They've taken into consideration and they've vamped up their CFU counts because of that journey. Something that you should really ask. Now, my favorite part is the marketing that happens with all of these probiotics. And rightfully so, these companies are trying to sell their products, but you can't be fooled with a lot of this marketing hype. Some of these companies are creating their own seals and awarding themselves like an award. Like, it's crazy. There's also companies claiming that their probiotics are organic. Now, here's a very big question. Sure, a lot of these companies are using organic fillers, but the probiotic themselves, are they actually organic and certified as organic? Question that you probably want to ask. Last but not least, that word proprietary. I really don't like that word. Look, if you're dealing with a pet with a certain ailment, IBD or eczema or allergies, whatever the disease may be, when you contact your company and they tell you that information that they have is proprietary, they don't want you to know the type of strain, species, CFUs, what have you, this is your dog or cat that we're talking about. If it was me, I would probably switch companies if they're not willing to give you that information for the overall benefit of your pet. Thank you so much for watching this review. I really hope we offered you some tools to put in your toolbox to make better decisions as a pet parent. Now, of course, the entire review is in the Inside Scoop. It is a Facebook membership area where we have a whole bunch of information, and my proceeds go back to supporting my nonprofit, which is called Pause for Change. And here is the incredible volunteer team. The legendary Susan Thixton to my left, Dr. Karen Becker, Chelsea Kent. These incredible people are helping us because of your support to put together things that we want to do, like nonprofit hospitals across the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, we're really excited to begin moving towards setting up hospitals for pets in need that can't afford medical care.
And providing valuable research.
And testing, like what we just finished.
Because of your support, we were able to put together a very extensive test on some of the popular pet foods that are being sold around the world. These things can cost tens of thousands of dollars, so thank you so much for helping. And look, if you don't have the money, do not go in there and spend the $10. We have a 1-week free trial where you can go in, you can finish the rest of the review, get the rest of the tips. But to those who supported, thank you again.